What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Turf Talk. I'm here with my main man, Dylan. You guys know him from Twitter at DylanJD98. It's your boy, Scotty here. You guys know me on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you find me, at Scotty Drowned. We got another edition of Turf Talk. Welcome to DSM Media. This is the network where you're going to find most of your sports content. Anything you want to find, you'll find it here. Make sure to tap into DSM Media on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter at DSM_media. Dylan, welcome to another edition of Turf Talk, man. What's going on?
What's going on, Scott? I tweeted out, tired, hungover. It doesn't matter. Grab a coffee, grab a beer. I don't give a shit. And tap in right now to Turf Talk. It's new for me and you to get up and prepare on a Sunday that doesn't include the NFL and do a show, which we will be doing during the season as well. But, doing the show makes it a little more worth it. I'm happy to be breaking down the AFC and NFC West divisions today with you. We got some Steven Nelson signing to talk about because I know, guys, that happened a week ago. So we're going to sound like we're a little late to the party, but it happened literally probably an hour after we wrapped up last week's episode of Turf Talk. So we'll hit on that. Carson Wentz obviously suffers a foot injury. That's, Devontae Smith's injury apparently isn't serious. Carson Wentz's injury appears to be serious. Bad news for the Eagles if they want that third first-round pick in 2021. So we got a lot to get into, my man. I know our shows have been going like an hour and a half, and that's just breaking down the divisions. This one might exceed 2 hours. Who the hell knows? So strap in.
You never know, man, because you hit it right on the head. These two divisions, specifically the NFC West, I know me and you have been talking behind the scenes. Like, we've been waiting to go over this division because it's probably the most competitive division in the NFL this season. And just a lot going on. You talk about passing game, running game. It's just a lot going on in that division. So I can't wait to get into that. Patrick Mahomes, of course,
right.
Keeps the AFC West. So it's going to be fun to talk about Justin Herbert, see what steps he takes in the second year. But as a wise man once said on this beautiful Sunday morning, attack every day. Attack every day. That is my. You're not
gonna leave me alone with that, are you? You're not gonna leave me alone. You sent me a text at like 8:30 this morning with the clip of it. I can't get away from this nonsense.
Oh my God.
Yeah, let me go attack my rest after the show.
I had to start the show with that. But let's get into it, man. What do you want? You want to get into Steven Nelson first or the Wentz injury?
Let's get into the Nelson thing first and get that out of the way because, like I said, it is a week old now.
Gotcha.
And he is in Eagles green already. So, if you want to start, I'll start. It doesn't matter. But Scott, I'll throw this to you. Signing Steven Nelson not only filled, a hole and probably the biggest hole on this Eagles roster is it fixes a lot more holes than just CB2. And I say that to you because, okay, CB2, you get him. Now it forces Avonte Maddox back to the slot to fill that nickel role where he's supposed to be, where you and I and every other knowledgeable and, smart Eagles fan has known for years, Avonte Maddox is not an outside corner. He's not big enough. He's not fast enough. He can't do it. We've seen that for years now, and the Eagles love to try to, fit pieces in positions they didn't come to this team for. He gets pushed back to the nickel. That fixes the nickel position. And then I bring up the defensive line because in years past, we know how poor the secondary has been, dude, from injuries or just overall roster construction in the secondary. You went out and you got Darius Slay last year, who I absolutely love, and we'll get into that in a second. But across from that, you had nothing last year. And that makes the defensive line, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter that they were top 3 in sacks for 95% of the year last year. You know why? Because you were just getting hit with 5-yard outs, slant, quick hitters, because the team, and especially with that stick defense that, Jim Schwartz used to run.
Yeah.
So the secondary was so bad, even though the defensive line has been really, really good, it didn't mean anything. Now, that relationship, that friendship, they always say a good pass rush is a secondary's best friend. Well, now that friendship is more of a two-way street now because now the defensive line doesn't have so much pressure and doesn't have to get after the quarterback and apply pressure as quickly as it normally would with the poor secondary back there. Vice versa, having that secondary back there or like helps, like alleviates that pressure in the defensive line, helps the pressure and not have to have Darius Slay and Steven Nelson and those guys, following around the Tyreek Hills of the world and the Mike Evans of the world and, Michael Thomas's, all those receivers we're going to see this year. So that's my main focus with the Steven Nelson signing. It's not that you filled that hole. It's that it fixed a lot more holes. It had like a domino effect here on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and I mean, you hit most of the points right on the head, but the other thing that I'll add in, you just look at the matchups, just general matchups when you're going against some of these teams that are on the schedule this year. You look at the teams like the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, who have multiple star wide receivers, you know what I mean? Guys that can get off. And you can go into those games with a chance now. Because if you don't have CB2, if you're going to get picked on one side of the field all day, if they're going to be able to get the ball out quick on one side of the field all day, you don't have a chance in this league. And especially against teams like that with great passing attacks. The other thing I would mention, you hit it about the defensive line, giving them time to get to the quarterback. Their production is going to go up significantly if the secondary can perform well, because we know how good the D-line is. That's always been our strong suit, and they continue to add great pieces to it. You talk about Kerrigan. I've heard great things about Milton Williams as well. So
he's huge.
He's a huge guy. And they said he's quick off the ball. So we're getting like Fletcher Cox vibes from Milton Williams here. And if we could just put it all together, we saw Javon Hargrave. Like, that defensive line is stacked with BG. The other thing I'll talk about is depth. You mentioned moving Avonte Maddox to the slot corner, basically the third CB. That's huge because now you got guys like Zach McPherson, who some people are pretty high on him. He's a nice lanky corner,
but he doesn't have to get thrown out there week one.
Put him out there for week one, and just because Avonte Maddox is so bad on the outside that you put a rookie on the outside. Rather, you don't want to do that to a rookie. You don't want to stunt his growth. So it gives him time to get himself together. But yeah, all around, I mean, just sets up the defense so nice. It's crazy what adding one player to the team can do. But once again, I think this just adds to Howie's offseason resume here. And we can get into that with kind of the Wentz injury. That kind of segues right into it.
Yeah.
Howie's looking like a genius again now. Like he's put together this retooled roster. And to be honest, he's done pretty much everything that we've asked him to. I mean, obviously we have the question mark at Jalen Hurts, but that's looking a lot smarter now with Carson Wentz getting injured in training camp. And, prayers to Carson Wentz. I don't wish any injuries on anybody. I want to see him succeed, and we'll get into why. But Howie's looking like a genius right now, Dylan. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and those words have not come out of my mouth in a very long time.
It's hard for me to get it out. You said
prayers up to Carson Wentz, and you're right. And Gint had tweeted out yesterday, if you're clowning, if you're trolling Carson Wentz, you're a clown. Okay, that's all you are. Your opinion now means nothing to me in the sports world or anything like that. If you're going to clown a dude because blah blah blah, right? It does affect the Eagles greatly now because of that, conditional potential first round pick in 2021 from Indianapolis, where they either have to make the postseason or he has to play 70 or 75% of the snaps, whatever that number is. There still is hope. I know Mike Garafolo had tweeted out, like, even if this is as serious as they're saying, with surgery, he could still play. Oh my God, he could still hit that 70 to 75% number. So we'll see there. But you want to talk about Howie for a second with this all, not only has he had a really good offseason, Scott, he's, like you said, he's kind of done it. He's done a lot of what we asked of him.
Yeah.
With like the restraints, with the cap number, with, you really can only sign guys to 1-year deals with the way our salary cap is set up right now, with Carson's, dead money on the books still.
Yeah.
So Howie really has had a really good offseason. And now with the Wentz injury, it does look better. Now, will Hurts, pan out to be what we want him to be? That's TBD still on the field. But from, hindsight now, Carson might not be on the field all of 2021. So yeah, you're right. He from that standpoint, it is looking a lot better. Any other thoughts? I really don't know how to feel about it because I feel bad for Carson Wentz. And it sucks as an Eagles fan now because we do need that first round pick. Like we've been talking about Deshaun Watson here all along, and you can kiss that goodbye essentially if you don't have that first round pick. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what else to think of it. It sucks for him. It sucks for the Eagles. But like you said, he's not in the green right now. So imagine if he was in Eagles green right now.
Man. I know.
And on day 2 or day 3 of training camp, he hears a pop in his foot, and he might have to undergo surgery. Oh my goodness!
It's hard to wonder. I mean, maybe because he's in Indy, it made him more comfortable even going off the field. I think in Philly, he would have been feeling that pressure so hard that he might have tried to play through it and make it worse. So,
yeah,
good for him that he got out of this pressure situation, in Indy. Hopefully it's a little more lax. I have a couple friends that are Colts fans, so they hit me up. They're like, man, why'd you guys give us this guy? So, I get it. And
you're welcome.
It's something, it's something that's been reoccurring in his career. Luckily, I don't have to, pick a side with it anymore. I used to, go to war for Carson Wentz, so I don't have to do that anymore. But I do wish him the best. They did go out and sign, I believe it was Brett Hundley. So we'll see how that works out. I know they got Jacob Eason in there right now, second-year quarterback.
Yeah.
The Colts have a ton of talent there, so they are really relying on Carson Wentz to show up this year. They didn't bring back Jacoby Brissett. Phillip Rivers retired, so they need Carson Wentz. We need Carson Wentz to play, so definitely wishing him the best. But JD's over here trolling.
Slim passer, man. It's rough, dude. Listen, the conversation does come up.
It does, man.
The guy kind of is injury prone. I mean, it's been almost every year. Now, listen, some of them were freak accidents. When he tears the ACL and the MCL, and then he comes back to where he shouldn't. In 2018, he should have never been back against the Colts that early. Yeah. Then the back injury happens. He plays through it. So that's not his fault. The concussion, not his fault. None of it's his fault, but just almost every single year, it really does get tough. And I guess, not only did his play on the field last year kind of force the hand to move on, but the injury history, now you have this young quarterback. So whatever. I don't want to spend too much time on that. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see what the x-rays reveal and how long he's going to be out, if he needs surgery, etc. And then we'll know from an Eagle standpoint how that first round pick or second round pick is going to be looking. Even if it's that second round pick, it's still going to be a top 5 or 6 pick in the second round, probably.
If he's out,
it's still a very good pick. It's still, but it's not that first round. It's not that, probably 20th pick in the draft or, mid 20s, whatever it would have been.
When you're talking trade talks, that's, a huge part. It just,
exactly.
If it's the 33rd pick or if it's the 32nd is a huge talking point when you're talking about a first and a second round pick. So
it is nuts though, ain't it, man? What if that second round pick's the 34th pick of the draft? And what if the Colts, if he played and they made the playoffs and all, and we got that first round pick, what if their pick was 29? Really? Okay, yeah, we're going to label it the first round pick and a second round pick, but they're 5 slots away. That's still a very valued. They're very close. Yeah,
definitely.
They'll look at it and say that's not a first round pick. So it is definitely interesting. Before we move on, though, just any Eagles training camp notes we want to hit on. I know we talked about it on the Faithful Fanatics earlier this week, but Devontae Smith, we're talking injuries. He suffers a leg injury last night. I was out last night, so I didn't even know until I was prepping for the show this morning that Devontae Smith even got hurt yesterday because I saw Jeff McLean tweet at 7:40 p.m. or whatever that he suffered a leg injury. Apparently, he stayed on the field. He didn't participate, but he stayed out on the field. It's not considered to be serious. So I'm literally praying that Devontae Smith is okay and that is nothing serious and he'll be back out there next week. Other than that, man, we talked about it on Training for 4 Quarters. We talked about Faithful and Fanatics. That left tackle position, it's going to be a flip-flop all throughout camp. And honestly, Scott, I think it's going to come down to in game situation in those 3 preseason games, who stands out. Really? I mean, because what it seems like is he is flip-flopping every single. They're both getting chances every other day to get the first hack at first team reps at that left tackle position. Okay, training camp, especially because they haven't even put the pads on yet. That'll be different once they get into contact and hitting and all that stuff. Then that'll show some more. But the in-game situations, preseason or not, is going to be, what it comes down to of who's winning the starting job at left tackle.
Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned it. They've been going back and forth between Mailata and Dillard. I did see some reports. I can't remember which beat reporter it was, but definitely reported that over the last few days, Jordan Mailata has been kind of beating Andre Dillard to the spot. So it does look like he is winning the position battle. But like you said, it's going to come down to in-game play, who can really protect Jalen Hurts' blindside there. So. It is going to be interesting how it breaks down, especially with the wide receivers as well. We talked about that heated battle going into camp, and it seems like, Reagor and Devontae Smith, like these guys are locks. Obviously, they're going to make the team, but they're giving these other guys way more reps than they probably could have expected. So, guys like Jay Jaw, Quez Watkins, they're getting the opportunities. Hightower, Jalen Reagor's kind of tight right now in his lower back. So he hasn't been practicing as much. And now Devontae Smith with the leg injury. So there's opportunity there. The other thing I wanted to note, they said Dallas Goedert came into camp out of shape and stuff, but he's out there like catching touchdowns. So I don't understand. Maybe he's just a freak of nature. But
listen, I said it to you the other day in the group chat. It is a bad. Him and Reagor failed their conditioning test. Apparently Jalen Reagor has some personal stuff going on. And he's injured, so take that for what you will with him. Goddard, I don't know. It's not a great look. I mean, you would think a wide receiver in his second year in Jalen Reagor and a tight end who seems to be in great shape, who's on a contract year, trying to get that extension. He's looking to be tight end 1 now in Philly, comes into camp and doesn't pass his conditioning test. We don't know why. We don't know, what failed. It's, maybe it's not like just so black and white and we just hear conditioning tests and that's the part, you know what I mean? But it's not a great look. But like you said, he's out there, he's catching touchdowns, he's seen, it's not that big of a deal. But you would expect, like the backup left guard to fail his conditioning test coming into camp, not your tight end 1 and the second year wide receiver.
Exactly.
So we don't know the specifics. Outside of that, Scott, I think linebacker Davion Taylor, it continues to get first team reps. But here's the interesting note that I saw the other day. Day 1 was Eric Wilson and Davion Taylor. And the story was, what we were talking about was, wow, Davion Taylor with Alex Singleton out is getting these first team reps. Day 2, Taylor's still the guy in first team. And I think it was TJ Edwards got the nod over Eric Wilson. Weird to me. I don't know how it played out over this weekend. I didn't follow the notes that closely. Like I said, I was out and about, but like it was, kind of stuck out that it wasn't Wilson and Taylor day 1 and then Wilson and Edwards day 2. It was Taylor, Wilson, Taylor, Edwards. Apparently, I saw a note that Davion Taylor stuck with, was it Miles Sanders? Yeah, he stuck with Miles Sanders and then had a pass breakup. And then they were just, pointing to his athleticism and the fact that he was able to stick with Miles Sanders on a wheel route or something like that to the end zone. So, pretty impressive there. And, I said to you earlier in the week, I'm not buying into it yet. Davion Taylor, he's got a lot of upside. He's got the tools, but I just found it hard to believe that it would be put together already. If it is, that's huge, dude.
That's crazy. And, you kind of hit on all the points there, but I guess what we are seeing is, the fact that Davion Taylor is he's more versatile than these 2 guys that are going to play the middle linebacker spot. And, we talked about TJ Edwards on that midweek episode, or I hopped on Faithful Fanatics with you actually. But we talked about TJ Edwards. Like, obviously he's great in the middle. He's great against the run. He struggles in pass coverage. And, the thing about Eric Wilson, I thought, coming in that he was a guy that was kind of great in pass coverage as a linebacker. No. So I guess not, right? No. If TJ Edwards getting, if they're going to be battling in camp for that. So it will be interesting to see. Sean Bradley's another name I've seen tossed in the mix of ones there. So they're just trying new things. And, Jonathan Gannon, you got to commend him for just going out there and throwing guys in positions. Let them find out where they fit. In previous seasons, we didn't see these young guys get that chance. So I think it's good that they're getting this experience in camp. Obviously, I think as we get closer to the season, we'll start seeing more solidified roles. But that was the other thing with Steven Nelson earlier I wanted to say was, we've talked about Jim Schwartz for so long, but we're going to have a good CB2, great CB1 on top of a new scheme. So how excited can you be?
Right. Exactly. I'm glad you said that because segues into my last point here. The scheme, the linebackers, and the secondary. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in Schwartz's defensive scheme, it was a ton of 3 linebackers, correct? Right. Now I'm seeing in camp, think about it. It's 2 linebackers. What's the weakest position on this defense? The linebacking group. So, and this is Gannon's scheme regardless. I'm not saying this. My point isn't that he's doing this to minimize that, but it damn sure helps that the weakest position, the weakest group on your defense shrinks by a player. And now you have a little bit more depth there because, if you throw out Eric Wilson and Davion Taylor, then you still have Alex Singleton, then you still have TJ Edwards. You get my point. So now it's not 3 linebackers. It's not a glaring hole in the middle the middle of the field. It's 2, and you shrink that. You added another safety. You added another corner. And to the last point about Steven Nelson is what I wanted to wrap up earlier was by saying we're not overvaluing Steven Nelson by, oh, my God, we got Steven Nelson. We paired him with Darius Slay. We're not trying to say that this dude is a CB1 and we have 2 CB1s. We're not saying any of that. He is a good CB2 in this league. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
He's not a ball hawk. He's not a strap down. He's not a lockdown corner, but he's a good corner number 2. And you pair that across from Darius Slay, who I think is still top 5 to 8 corners in this league. You go out, you get Ant Harris. Hopefully Rodney McLeod's healthy. This secondary, this defensive line, and you shrink the linebacking group and take one of those guys off the field. This defense, who I thought before the signing was going to give up close to 30 a game, 27, 28, 29 points a game, seems a lot better.
Yeah, and you look at the teams that they'll play early on, they'll get tested early.
I thought you were going to segue there because who do they play this year, Scott? The AFC West.
That is right.
We will be breaking down today.
And that's great segue there, Dylan. So we'll kind of we'll switch up the pace here, turn it into the AFC, NFC to kind of talk here. You mentioned it. AFC West. Let's talk about the AFC West here. We're going to get into the rankings. We got the Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, Chargers. So these teams out west, it's obviously the Chiefs. We'll kind of dive into it, but what are you most excited about? Any moves in that division that you can think of that kind of, set the tone? I mean, I was going through them last night because we always want to go over moves in the division before we get into the rankings. Now there was a lot of movement, but there wasn't any huge names. The thing I would say as far as splash would be the fact that the Chiefs went out. They saw how Patrick Mahomes got dismantled by that offensive line. They went out. They added Joe Tooney. They added they lost Eric Fisher, but they added Kyle Long, Orlando Brown. So they added guys to that offensive line. That's going to be a scout offensive line in front of Patrick Mahomes. We'll get into all of that, but let's talk about the Broncos really quick. They added Teddy Bridgewater. Don't know about
two gloves.
Drew Teddy is still slotted in the depth chart as number 1 guy right now. So, I don't. Depending on whoever they go with, I'm not very sure of that passing game once again in Denver. It just seems like a rotating door there in Denver at the quarterback position. They thought Drew Lock was the guy. They would go out and get Teddy Bridgewater. So it's like you obviously don't have that much faith in him. They were out there in the field for Aaron Rodgers. So. It's going to be interesting to see what goes on there in Denver. But Patrick Surtain, they grabbed him in the draft. That's a great pickup A guy that I really liked in the draft. I know you had him as your number one corner in the draft recently.
Yep.
Familiar face. They picked up Ronald Darby. So Ronald Darby's in Denver. We have great experience with him, right?
Yeah.
We'll move to the Raiders. They were able to pick up John Brown, wide receiver from Buffalo. Yannick Ngakoue. So they picked him up as an edge rusher there in Las Vegas. Rachel Douglas, another familiar face.
Oh, Jesus.
In Las Vegas there. And then we moved to the Chargers. There wasn't a ton of movement here. They did pick up Rashawn Slater in the draft, first round pick, offensive tackle. Asante Samuel Jr., another guy we liked in the second round there, has home ties with Asante Samuel Sr. there. They did pick up Jared Cook, tight end out of New Orleans. Lost Casey Hayward, lost Trey Turner. Those are two big hits, but definitely filled them right back in with Rashawn Slater and Asante Samuel Jr. there. So that kind of covers, most of the big moves. Obviously, we can't hit them all there, but that was most of the movement there. So if you want to get into the actual rankings of the division, we can talk about it. Do you want to start with defense, or do you want to go the opposite route, go offense, defense? What do you want to do here?
We'll start offense because I think that's the most exciting thing about this division. You mentioned it. The Chiefs went out and bolstered their offensive line. And people don't realize that, I think. The GOAT got another ring last year, but that Chiefs offensive line was dismantled, and the Bucs ate him alive. Mahomes was running for his life the entire game. My memory serves me correct. Mahomes was also battling an injury, so they went out and invested in a position that they needed to fix to get them back to Super Bowl contention, because it stuck out like a sore thumb in the under the bright lights in that Super Bowl. But yeah, we'll start offensively here, and we can start with the passing attack, because the rushing attack, as I said to you before the show, in both divisions, I have no idea how to rank these rushing attacks. So I'm going to do it on the fly here on Turf Talk. Passing attack, number one is obvious. I mean, we're talking about the greatest, probably the best quarterback in football right now. Just from a talent perspective, I've always said this. There's a difference. Tom Brady's the GOAT, but Aaron Rodgers in my lifetime was the greatest thrower of the football. He's the greatest quarterback talent-wise I've ever seen. In comes Patrick Mahomes, and I think that's a 1A, 1B conversation now. So I got Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs number one. Obviously, Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill headline their receiving core, but he's just the best in the game behind a good offensive line. Andy Reid's his play caller. Speed's all around them. Probably the best or second best tight end in the game over the middle. They're just going to be a problem again offensively. Number two, Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers. That kid came in, kind of was thrown to the wolves because he didn't win the job. Tyrod Taylor ends up with some freak accident with a doctor with like a shot before the game that like punctured a lung or something crazy. Was that week 1 or week 2 last year or something? He gets thrown in right before the game starts, and he takes off. This kid is going to be special. He gets his running back in Austin Eckler this year. They do have some speed and some weapons around them. Obviously, Keenan Allen's still there, Mike Williams, etc. Justin Herbert and the Chargers are number 2 for me. In comes number 3 with Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders. I used to be a big Derek Carr fan. Not so much anymore, but they can still sling it in Vegas. And they're 3 because they're better, but they're also 3 because of by default here in the West with number 4. And it's interesting that you brought up this Denver team. I think would be really good and would compete with the Chargers in this division. I mean, with the Chiefs in this division, if they had a quarterback, if they went out. That's why Aaron Rodgers to Denver was so intriguing for a hot minute, because they got weapons. First of all, I love Noah Fant. That kid is humongous. He's got speed. He's an athletic freak. I love Noah Fant. Cortland Sutton was hurt a lot of last year. He's back. Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. They have speed and youth in the receiving core. They're really good. Not Melvin Ingram. Melvin Gordon is in the backfield there in Denver. They have a decent defense. If they had a quarterback, they'd be a problem in the AFC West right there with Kansas City, right? But they don't. Like you said, they had Drew Lock. They have two gloves, Teddy. I don't know what they're going to do there. I would probably just start Drew Lock because, at least he's still younger. Maybe he can turn himself into a little something. We know what Teddy Bridgewater kind of is in this league. So, yeah, Drew Lock / Teddy Bridgewater / Denver Broncos are number 4 for me in the passing attack.
Yeah, man, and you made great points about Denver. There was a lot of talk before the season, or before training camp, I should say. Before Aaron Rodgers settled, that would be one of the landing spots maybe for Aaron Rodgers. And talk about a great fit. I think you throw Aaron Rodgers on that squad, they may be a Super Bowl contender. I mean, he makes just about any team a Super Bowl contender.
Right.
But they're well-rounded on defense. We'll get into that later. But you mentioned all the weapons. I mean, you just look at those 3 or even 4, because Tim Patrick's pretty good too. You're looking at Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler. I mean, those are 3 good receivers. KJ Hamler is obviously a little young, but we'll see what we get out of him from the slot. But then you throw Javonte Williams, which we'll get into the rushing attack. I love Javonte Williams, the running back out of UNC. Great addition to that backfield. He could end up outplaying Melvin Gordon in all reality. We'll save that for the rushing attack. As far as the rankings, I got the Chiefs. I'm with you. Patrick Mahomes, sidearm throws.
None better, bro.
Training camp. I don't expect him to slow down at all. Tyreek Hill is still there. Travis Kelce's a little beat up in training camp. I expect him to be fine by the regular season. Mecole Hardman, I think he's going to have a breakout season as that second wide receiver there. It's all set up for him. Obviously everybody's going to focus on Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. He's going to be out there in that Chiefs offense. They spread them out. They
flying around,
man. It's going to be amazing. So Chiefs number 1 there. That was by default. They stouted that offensive line as well. So the pass protection should be even better for Patrick Mahomes. I'm with you on the Chargers. Chargers number 2, Justin Herbert. It comes down to quarterback play at the end of the day. All of these offensive lines are, they're pretty good. I mean, I would probably say the Chiefs have the best offensive line in the division now, but they're not like bad offensive lines. So when you don't have a bad offensive line in play, it comes down to quarterback play. Justin Herbert is the second best quarterback in the division. He does have weapons there in LA, like you mentioned, with Eckler. You got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams out there on the outside. So. And then they added Jared Cook, who's a pretty serviceable tight end as well. Yeah. So they should be right on track. Justin Herbert should be better. You would expect him to make another jump if he's as good as everybody says. Raiders number 3, obviously not a huge Derek Carr fan, but he's definitely more established than Teddy Bridgewater.
I was a Derek Carr fan in the Amari Cooper days.
Gotcha. And he was good. He was good then. He was
just a gunslinger. Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually great. He like turned into this check down king over the last couple seasons. I have a buddy who's a big Las Vegas Raiders fan. He lives out in Denver, but he gives me all the insight with the Raiders.
A little conflict of interest there, no?
I know. He moved
Denver.
He didn't live in Denver originally, but he did move there, so he goes to any Raiders games he can. But I stay pretty in tap with the Raiders, and nothing crazy about their passing game. What I worry about is their outside receivers. They didn't add much to that, and they did lose Tyrell Williams. I do like John Brown.
They have Willie Snead too.
Willie Snead, they're serviceable, but no star there unless Henry Ruggs is going to break out this season. Which you
Darren Waller is the best pass catcher.
Darren Waller, that's a good point. He's what, a top 5, top 3 tight end?
Definitely. I'd say 3 to 4. Yeah, I'd say it's Kelsey Kittle and then probably him.
Yeah. So Darren Waller, definitely a great point. Definitely a great catch there. And then Broncos, you mentioned it, instability at the quarterback position. It's as simple as that. They got weapons on the outside. We went over that. Drew Lock, who is the quarterback, first of all?
We don't know.
Between both of them, are either of them any good? No. I'm definitely not sold on Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not sold
on either. I think if you're looking for upside, you got to go with Drew Lock. He's the younger, he's the more unknown. He's got some athleticism to him, whatever. He's got some excitement to him, I'm not going to lie. Remember when he was caught like on the bench, like rapping "Put On" by Jeezy and Kanye. But if you want more of a game manager, if you want a guy who's going to probably keep you in games, you're going to be competitive, I'd go with Teddy Bridgewater. If you want more upside, see what you got in the kid, I would go with Teddy Two Gloves.
Hell yeah, I agree, man. That's why we talked about the Panthers last weekend, and I'm excited for their offense, just to see like a different quarterback. Sam Darnold obviously isn't well renowned, but at least more upside than Teddy Bridgewater.
I'm not trying to get sidetracked here on Teddy Two Gloves, and we're going to move on in a second. But it just goes to show, like, everyone talks about how if you're a great quarterback in this league, you elevate those around you. And that's true. But that's a select few quarterbacks in this league. It just goes to show how important the rest of the roster is, how much of a factor a good defense is, a running game, an offensive line. Because Teddy Bridgewater came in for Drew Brees in New Orleans 2 years ago when he was the backup, and he went 5-0 or 6-0 or 5-1, something like that.
Yeah. And
then he goes out, and Carolina's like, "Oh, let's go get ourselves Teddy."
Let's give him.
Yeah, they got one look at Teddy. See ya. Let me go give Sam Darnold a try.
6th-round pick.
Yeah, dude. Like, he went out, got some money in Carolina, and then they shipped him out for a bag of balls but it just goes to show you with that defense in New Orleans, with that rushing attack, with that offensive line, he was able to basically go undefeated in Drew Brees' place. And, that if you're not in that top select few quarterbacks that can elevate everyone around them, you're going to get beat up in this league. And Teddy Two Gloves is the epitome of that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Moving on, though. No more Teddy Two Gloves talk.
Not a fan. So we got the AFC West rushing attack. So I'll kind of go first here.
Yeah, please intrigue me. Let me learn here, because I have no rankings for these. All right, actually, I'm just going to headline this one and throw it to you. The Broncos are 4th. I like Melvin Gordon. The dude was a stud with the Chargers, but out of the rest, he's 4th, and that rushing attack is 4th. Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs, and then you got the running attack in KC with Hilaire and whoever else they're throwing out there. So let me learn, Scott, and maybe you'll persuade my rankings here.
So and it's one of these things, like you said earlier, this is by default. So the Raiders, I have number 1, and it's just because I know they're going to pound the rock with
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs. I'm out here stuttering, man. Josh Jacobs. And they do have Kenyon Drake back there as well.
Yeah, I just peeped that. I didn't know that.
So, yeah, I got Raiders with the number 1 rushing attack just because I think they're going to utilize it the most. Second, I do have the Chargers. I do like that combo of Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson. I think, when you're working with a second-year quarterback, you do have to protect him a bit. You got to run the football. Austin Eckler was injured last season, so they can rely on a little bit more on him this season as well. He's a very good back, very good in the pass game and the running game, so I'm excited to see that. And then third, I do have the Chiefs. By default, they do run the ball well. Like, it's just a matter of them running the football.
Yo, I was just going to say this because I had Hilaire as my number 2 fantasy back last year because everyone was hyping him up, dude.
They were.
And I'm watching KC games and I'm like, okay, this has to be a run, right? Play action. Nope. Okay, this has to be a run, right? Play action. Nope. They get on the 2-yard line. I'm waiting for him to just pound the rock across the goal line. No. Play action, and he flips one over the line like Travis Kelce. I'm like, run the ball, man. So, yeah.
And then you saw in the playoffs, it was Darrell Williams. It's like always some random. You know what I mean?
Like, dude, I don't know. They don't run it enough to be uber effective.
Exactly. And it's definitely, we can talk about, fantasy perspective. I would stay away from that entire backfield because they aren't afraid to mix it up. And they did pick up Jerick McKinnon too, so he's like their 3rd string running back. So I mean,
and he's going to use him, dude. I'm telling you right now,
like it's crazy. So definitely Chiefs 3, and then Broncos 4 with an upside with Javonte Williams. I'm not a huge Melvin Gordon fan. Do like Javonte Williams. The only thing, the caveat with the Broncos is the passing game. You can't run the football if you don't have an effective passer. So by default, they're number 4 for me.
I agree with you. I'm just going to put that. I know I said I didn't have my rankings as you're explaining it. I'm sitting here thinking, I told you the Broncos are 4. And I was kind of, where do I place everything else? I'm going to put Josh Jacobs and the Las Vegas Raiders 1 because they are going to pound the rock. Josh Jacobs is going to get between 20 and 25 carries a game, and it's going to be effective. He's probably the best well-rounded running back in this division. 2, I'm putting Eckler and the Chargers because, they could be 1, but I feel like they're Justin Jackson and Austin Eckler are going to be used more in the pass game alongside the rushing attack. You get what I'm saying? So they're going to get multiple receptions a game, be used in the screen game, and not pounding. Not when we're talking rushing attack, we're actually talking running the ball, right? So that's why I had them 2. 3, yeah, I like Edwards-Helaire, okay? And I do like his fit in Kansas City because of how Andy does utilize his running backs, and he's utilized in the passing attack as well. But from a rushing perspective, they just don't pound the rock enough. They don't run the ball enough. They rotate a ton. They picked up Lev Bell last year. He hardly used him. I thought they were going to use him a ton. Who knows? So they're 3, and then the Broncos are 4th. Common trend here with Denver.
And so, I guess we can kind of segue. There's not much else to get into with the rushing attacks there.
No.
I don't think there's any, fear in your heart for any of these rushing attacks. I mean, Josh Jacobs is a pretty good back.
He's a good running back, yeah.
Just as far as their offensive line, the consistency, once again with the passing game, that all affects the running game there. So we can get into the defense. And this is where I kind of had a switch up with Denver, honestly, because I like a lot of their defensive players, a lot of the talent there. So do you want to get into the secondary, the pass coverage, or do you want to go pass rush first? What do you want to do?
Let's start with pass protection, the pass coverage portion here. Coverage. Yeah. Right. So here's my rankings of the AFC West pass coverage. I got the Chargers number 1, Chiefs number 2, Broncos number 3, Raiders number 4. But I was looking at Denver's secondary here, and I like their safeties. I like Kareem Jackson. I like Justin Simmons a lot. Their corners, and they did draft their team, but as of right now, he's second team. Their starting listing corners right now are Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby. We know all too well the Ronald Darby experience. Yes, I know we won a Super Bowl with Ronald Darby. We won a Super Bowl with Jalen Mills. I don't like them. Okay, they're not good corners in this league. And then on the opposite side, as of right now, it's Kyle Fuller, who has had a very up and down type of career. 1 year, he's got he can be a little bit of a ball hawk. I know he was rumored to Philly a couple times. But he's smaller. I don't know. I don't love him as your number 1 option at corner. So I like their safeties a ton. I'm not in love with their corners whatsoever. But if Pat Surtain, steps right in and he's a number 1 corner, then that changes that perspective a bit. The Raiders, they do have Casey Hayward, Trayvon Moehrig, Jonathan Abrams. So this is tough. Scott, what do you have? I don't know if I want to put them 4.
So with the Raiders, I guess for me, I have them 4th. Just because of experience. I do like Casey Hayward, but Trayvon Moehrig, I'm a big fan. He's a rookie, so you got to find out what you have in him. Abram is pretty good, but he can be beat in pass coverage pretty easily. But as far as my rankings, I honestly have the Broncos first. So I'm looking at the secondary from, I guess, a different perspective. I get the Ronald Darby thing. Obviously, I'm not a Ronald Darby fan at all. But I do feel like they have a lot of depth and a lot of options at the cornerback position. You mentioned Patrick Surtain's not even starting right now, and I would expect him to creep into that spot as he gets.
I think Darby's getting kicked to the side here.
Yeah, I would suspect that as well. But they also got Bryce Callahan as well, who's a notable corner. He's not obviously, somebody who's going to kick, make your secondary elite, but he's a great depth piece. But I guess my outlook here, you mentioned Kyle Fuller's up and down. Ronald Darby has his moments, but gets beat often. The thing with this secondary is the fact that they have Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons. I think when you have such excellent safety play, you can kind of hide those guys on the outside. Similar to what we saw in Philly, where Malcolm Jenkins and Ron Cloud were able to hide Ronald Darby and Jalen Mills. So I think we could see something, of that nature there. And then,
If
it's kind of not fair
Surtain
for me to stem it that way. But I guess when you have the pass rush mixed with that secondary, that definitely helps as well. So I do have the Broncos number 1 in pass coverage. After that, this is where I had the tough time between the Chargers and the Chiefs. Just because, you look at the Chargers, they got Chris Harris Jr., they got Derwin James, who is a stud, just can't seem to stay healthy all the time. So we got to see how that plays out. But then you go over to the Chiefs, and they have something very similar, as far as, a star safety, and then good corner play. Like, you have Tyrann Mathieu there. Like, he is a stud of a stud. So it's like, I guess for me, it comes down to who do I value or trust more to lead their defense? And right now I have to go Tyrann Mathieu just because of the experience, the moments that he's been in, the situation that's played out, the plays that he's made. He's a playmaker. Derwin James, when he's healthy, it's hard. So really the health is factoring into this. If he stays healthy, he's the best safety in the division, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love the Honey Badger. But Derwin James, he's a different
better safety, yeah.
He's a different breed. So I'll go Chiefs second just because of experience. They were in the Super Bowl last year together. They brought most of those guys back.
Also, real quick side note, the Honey Badger lost a little bit of downgraded a level for me just because of stupidity last year in the Super Bowl. Like,
that's fair.
Why would you piss off the GOAT in the Super Bowl? I remember me and Gint were texting like, "Yo, is he serious?" And then what did Tom do directly after that? Not only picked him apart, targeted the Honey Badger in that Super Bowl. Like, come on.
So then third, I got the Chargers then after the Chiefs. I do like the Chargers. They got some depth built in there. They got Asante Samuel Jr. As a depth piece. And then Chris Harris, that's great experience there, as well as Derwin James.
Former Bronco.
Nazir Adderley, I mean, he's another guy that showed up last year as well. So they got some pieces in that secondary. I'm not down on the Chargers, just kind of a toss-up there. And then Las Vegas, we mentioned Las Vegas. They got some young guys there. Casey Hayward has the experience. Damon Arnett, guy that really fell.
You know what I'm realizing?
Got drafted actually higher than what he was supposed to, I should say.
There's a ton of corners that are still in this division, like Casey Hayward, former Charger. Chris Harris Jr., former Bronco, all still sticking around.
Teams.
Yeah. they had a little draft in the secondary.
So yeah, Raiders round out my the bottom of my list there. So we can get into the pass rushes, which I think is a little bit more interesting. This one was tough for me as well. I'm looking at the Chiefs. They have a lot of options there in the pass rush. Between Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Alex Okafor, that's a mean pass rush. But then I'm looking at the Chargers. You're talking about one of the Bosa brothers there, Joey Bosa, Linval Joseph. So they got incredible edge rush there. And then the Broncos. You mentioned, I believe it is Bradley Chubb, not Nick Chubb. Bradley Chubb. Always
Von
Miller. I mean, that's elite. So this one was tough for me. I did end up going Broncos. I do like that pass rush a little bit more than the rest. So Broncos number 1 with Bradley Chubb, Von Miller getting to the quarterback. Hopefully Von Miller is healthy this season. I know he was beat up last year. The Chiefs, Frank Clark, Chris Jones. Now, am I mistaken, or is Frank Clark the one that got arrested?
Yeah, I think so.
And he might do jail time, so he may not play. So that's a caveat, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't mean to laugh. It was just like the way you said it. He was like, "Is Frank Jones got locked up, right?"
Yeah, like he got locked up.
I think so. I hope we're not wrong, because if we're sitting here talking about Frank Jones, yeah. But I think you're correct.
I'm pretty sure it was Frank Clark. So Chiefs still number 2 with a caveat. He's a huge piece in there, but definitely Chargers just led by Bosa. Joey Bosa's a monster. He's always a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year when he's healthy. And then, just the Raiders. They did pick up Yannick Ngakoue, but once again, just a team that doesn't have a ton of experience together together or period. You know what I mean? Yannick Ngakoue is a nice piece there, but
he's been bounced around so much, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how valuable is he really? He's a guy that we wanted, heavily. I think it was before last season, and he's been passed around to two teams since. So yeah, I don't know about the Raiders there. They round out my bottom four in both sides of the defense. So I don't know where you stand with that, but
I fully agree with you.
Defense here, not a lot of talent, man. Honestly,
I fully agree with you. The Raiders are number 4 for me, and then when you just get to the top 3, it is a little tough. If it was 3 years ago, I would have the Chargers higher because when you had that Joey Bosa, and then what was his counterpart? Was it Melvin Ingram?
Yeah, it was Melvin Ingram.
Them two coming off the edges were a problem for the Chargers. So, but now it's just anchored by Joey Bosa. Outside of that, so I have the Chargers number 3. I do have the Chiefs number 2. They could be flip-flop with the Broncos. And the Broncos are weird as well because they're both linebackers. So their defensive line isn't this almighty defensive line, but these two linebackers are going to cause problems because they're coming off the edges, dude. So they're going to cause problems there. The Chiefs are interesting just because, they don't have a Von Miller. They don't have the Bradley Chubbs. But just the scheme.
Yeah.
Like, they come after you. He takes his shots. Is it Spagnuolo?
I'm pretty sure it's Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah. He takes his shots coming after you, and they succeed a decent amount of the time in big-time moments. So, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to defer a little bit. I think I'm going to go Chiefs number 1 because I'm going to involve system here. I'm looking at the defensive line. I think that the linebackers for Denver are much, much better than Kansas City's, but Kansas City's defensive line mixed with the linebacking group in the scheme. I'm going to go Chiefs 1, Broncos 2, Chargers and Bosa 3, Raiders 4. That being said, Scott, let's wrap up our AFC West rankings here and just kind of put all that together. Eye test, predictions, taking, last year and moving forward. Who do we think is going to finish 1 through 4 in the AFC West? I'll start for you. Number 4 is the Denver Broncos. We just talked pretty damn highly of their defense. We talked about how they have some young athleticism and some speed on the outsides on offense in KJ Hamler, in Cortland Sutton, in Jerry Jeudy, a tight end in Noah Fant. They have Melvin Gordon. It comes down to quarterback at the end of the day. They had the worst one in the division, and they have one of the worst ones in the entire league as of right now, unless Drew Lock somehow takes a step in the right direction. I got the Denver Broncos number 4. Number 3, I had the Las Vegas Raiders. At the end of the day, they are such a weird team. They are just, we always joke around as Eagles fans that the Cowboys are just the epitome of 500. They're going to go 8-8. This year, it's going to be tough because there's 17 games, but they'll find a way. John Gruden and this Raiders team is just the epitome of a 500 ball club, in my opinion. A little under, probably. They win games they're not supposed to win. They beat the Saints on Monday Night Football. They beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football. They go out, they're competitive with the teams that are just levels above them, and then they just drop games they shouldn't. Under John Gruden, Derek Carr's too much of an up and down. He turns the ball over a decent amount. I don't really love anything about their defense. I got the Raiders coming in at number 3. Number 2 is just kind of by default because you're not uncrowning Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid. They're 1. Number 2 is Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers. They are interesting, dude, because they have a good defense. They have 2, dual threat running backs in the backfield in Justin Jackson and Austin Eckler returning healthy. And Justin Herbert's the biggest thing. If Justin Herbert can just keep developing, we saw what he was in his rookie year, dude. If Justin Herbert just continues to get better, that team and he is going to be a huge problem. And if it wasn't for the number 1 team and that quarterback in their division, they would probably win their division, in my opinion. But that problem still remains the same. That is the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. They're number 1. I haven't looked at everything yet, and, I don't want to – I would love to take an upset, but as of right now, they're probably my favorite to come out of the AFC and compete for another Super Bowl.
All reality, dude, like they went to the Super Bowl, back-to-back seasons now. They won it the year before. They probably got better. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, they probably got better. They have a better offensive line now. Like,
Yep, I agree.
yeah.
So the Chiefs are number one, obviously.
So
Duh.
I got the same exact rankings as you. I'll kind of elaborate. Broncos, I think what it comes down to, we mentioned how high we were on their defense. This isn't a defensive league anymore. And it comes down to a consistent passing game and being able to air it out when you need to. You got to be able to score. And the Broncos are in that fourth spot because of their quarterback position. They still haven't figured it out. They didn't bring in a guy in the draft, even, to get like that mid-season, if Teddy and Drew Lock are struggling, you throw your young guy out there, see if he has it. They don't even have an option for that. But what the heck just happened here? Oh, okay. I was so confused. No, but Broncos is strictly because of their quarterback. I just can't put any faith into to either of those guys. Raiders, once again, kind of like default. They're just kind of like this middle of the pack, below average team that you really don't know what you got. You still really don't know what Derek Carr is. You don't know how he's going to play. There's some games where he's on the money.
I think that's who Derek Carr is. Derek Carr is a roller coaster of a ride quarterback.
Yeah, that's who he
up
is.
Up and down. I think that's who he is the unknown.
And what that ultimately equals out to
not success.
An up and down season. So that's what the Raiders will have. Chargers by default, once again, I just don't think that highly of the other two teams at the bottom there. Justin Herbert, you mentioned it, his development with that core, it's time to take it to the next step. But even in the next step, that's not the Chiefs. And I talked about it with you at the end of your rankings there. The Chiefs may have just gotten better. And what does that mean? Does that mean that they just win the Super? You know what I mean? Like, what is the next step for the Chiefs to take? They're already kind of committing to this dynasty. Now, we'll see if there's any other challengers from the AFC, the Bills, the Ravens, the Browns of the world.
Right.
We'll see how that goes. But right now, the Chiefs, they're not only the number one in this division, they're probably number one in the NFL right now. So that's where I'm at with the AFC West. Chiefs until somebody knocks them off their wagon, which I don't see that coming in the next few years. So
barring injury, nope.
We can just rerun this episode next season if you want.
You're going to. You're going to. Like, when people used to get annoyed at Brady and the Patriots, I mean, how many people, as Eagles fans, obviously, in 2017, 2018, that was, the greatest night of my life. But I also appreciate greatness. I loved watching Tom Brady. I still love watching Tom Brady. This Super Bowl was hard because I love Mahomes and Big Red and everything. So this was a fun Super Bowl to watch. I really didn't have a side, a leg in it or anything. But, people would get annoyed at the Patriots. And that's why they hate the Patriots, because they were just there every year, it felt like. You're going to see that with Kansas City. I love Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott. I think that Baker continues to take his game to the next level. That rushing attack and the Browns are going to be a lot of fun and make another run. Lamar and the Ravens, you mentioned it. But outside of that, dude, the Chiefs, I don't see them getting knocked off barring injury. So I think people, everyone loves Pat Mahomes, right? The young kid. Give it 3 more years of being in AFC championships and Super Bowls and winning Super Bowls, and see that people don't just get a little bit annoyed that the Chiefs continue to be there like they did with the New England Patriots.
Because with consistent success comes confidence, comes a little bit of cockiness,
right?
Big head. It will all come together after they continue to go to the Super Bowl year after year. Right. Just to kind of finish off with the AFC West or the AFC, the upcoming years in general. Like you said, the Lamar Jacksons, the Baker Mayfields, the Josh Allens, at some point, if these guys want to get to the next level, even a guy like Justin Herbert, you got to take that next step to compete with the level of Patrick Mahomes. Somebody's got to take that step. Is it Josh Allen? Can Lamar Jackson get his passing game together? Can Baker Mayfield be supplanted by this incredible team around him to make him an elite quarterback? we'll see how it plays out. But as of right now, the crown is on Patrick Mahomes, and there's not much that anybody can do about it.
Yeah, dude, and it's like they're not unbeatable. They have holes. They don't have the greatest defense. It's not like they have like some top 3 defense, top 5 defense probably. They don't have like a running attack. They're not going to pound the ball down your throat. Outside of Hill and Kelsey, they don't have the stud wide. Like you look at Tampa and you look at some that just have Mike Evans, Godwin, Gronk, like just multiple guys. Yeah. They don't have that. And in the regular season, they're not just blowing teams out left and right. But when the chips are down, this kid and this team has proven to shine in the moment. So barring injury, barring, veterans leaving on the defensive side of the ball, everything like that, this Kansas City team is going to be right in the mix. And I'm not going to say they're going to just Super Bowl at the Super Bowl, but they're going to be in the AFC Championship for years and years and years to come. And it's going to be interesting to see if people still love Patrick Mahomes 5 years down the line if they're not Kansas City Chiefs fans. But moving on, Scott, to, in my opinion, the best, toughest division in the entire National Football League, the NFC West, where quite literally we're going to give our rankings 1 through 4 of how we think this division is going to play out. But literally any team in this division could win the division.
Yeah, I wouldn't put money on my rankings.
No. So if you want to, do you want to kind of flip-flop like we've been doing? You want to start with the defensive side of the ball first and then move to offense?
Yeah, so what I'll do, we can kind of go – I'll do additions, subtractions, and then we can go defense, and then offense.
Right.
So just as far as big moves, I'll go down the line here, start with the Seahawks. They did add Everett from the Rams, so they added that tight end. He's a very versatile tight end added to their offense. They did lose Greg Olsen, so he kind of supplants him. Pierre Desir, cornerback, he's a nice addition on their defense. And then they did pick up Aldon Smith as well. So not too much movement for the Seahawks, not too many notable moves. They did pick up Aldon Smith, the former Cowboy, right? The Rams, obviously we know Matt Stafford was added to that squad. That's exciting. We'll get into that with the passing game, but I'm a big Matthew Stafford fan. I know you are as well. And then they also added Deshaun Jackson to that passing attack as well with, the
Kupp and Woods.
Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. Those 2 guys are my guys. And then even Van Jefferson, he's another great wide receiver there in LA. They did lose Cam Akers out of that running attack. So that, obviously not subtraction forever, but injury. I believe he tore his ACL, so he's going to be out for season.
ACL or Achilles, I forget, but yeah.
Yeah, huge loss to their backfield there. So we'll see how that plays out. Cardinals had a very low-key offseason, but added some big names. You talked about James Conner before, so James Conner's added to that backfield. Struggled in Pittsburgh last year. Coming in as a backup running back isn't a terrible situation for him. A.J. Green, they added him on the outside to that wide receiver. Rondale Moore was a wide receiver they picked up in the draft, who I really like. Lost Larry Fitzgerald, lost Hassan Reddick, picked up J.J. Watt, who you just mentioned. Huge pickup right there. That's, maybe not his talent anymore. He's still very talented, don't get me wrong. But the leadership that he brings to that defense, just that veteran leadership. Now, I know Chandler Jones just requested a trade out of there, so they may be losing him very soon. And then they did add Malcolm Butler. They lost Patrick Peterson to Minnesota, so they supplanted him with Malcolm Butler. And then finally, the 49ers, obviously they drafted Trey Lance. Don't know what their situation at quarterback is really looking like just yet. I doubt they throw him into the fire. It's probably going to be Jimmy G to start the season. Trey Sermon, he was another running back added to the backfield. Wayne Gallman added to the backfield in San Francisco. And then Mohamed Sanu added to the wide receiver corps, veteran presence. He's not, too much production anymore these days. But that does it as far as just some of the notables. Now, if I'm missing everything, we're not going to catch every move, but those would be the most notable within the division. We can start with defense here. Let's get into the pass coverage, and I'll let you go first on that, since I kind of just did a little spiel there.
All right, yeah. So for pass protection, pass coverage, obviously number one headlining this division is the LA Rams. I mean, this defense is just absolutely stacked, but it's anchored by Jalen Ramsey. You got Jordan Fuller at free safety. Darius Williams is back there as well. They're a problem, dude. They are an absolute problem. So number 1, I had the LA Rams. Number 2, I have this is tough. Number 4, I'm just going to throw it out there. I have the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks secondary is the worst secondary in this division. I think they're going to struggle a bit. They've kind of struggled in years past, and they didn't do anything to address that. So Rams 1, Seahawks 4. 2, 3 is very tough for me. I'm going to put the 49ers number 1. Jimmy Ward, K'Wan Williams, Jason Verrett, sorry. But I like the youth in Arizona. You mentioned Malcolm Butler, but Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to stick with it, but I love this Cardinals team a lot, and they're my favorite team in the division. But like I said, I have no idea who's going to win this division. So for pass protection, Rams 1, Niners 2, Cardinals 3, Seattle 4.
Yeah, man, I'm looking at this Cardinals team. It's like Jordan Hicks isn't even scheduled to start right now.
They're stacked, bro. They are stacked.
Yeah, so as far as pass coverage, to be honest with you, I do have the Cardinals number 1 for me. You mentioned Malcolm Butler. That's a nice veteran ad there. They do have Robert Alford backing up Darqueze Dennard. So they have some great depth there at the corner position as well. But Budda Baker, he's one of those playmaking safeties that I absolutely love. But what really does it for the pass coverage for me is guys like Isaiah Simmons out there in the linebacker.
Okay.
Great in coverage. Like, I mean, their linebacking core is great, man. Like, I'm looking, and then even Marcus Golden at the slot corner, Zaven Collins, Jordan Hicks, Chandler Jones is still there. Probably won't be there by the start of the regular season, but Cardinals are looking really good on paper.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. So Cardinals number 1. I do have the Rams number 2. Obviously love Jalen Ramsey, and I did kind of battle with that, putting them number 1, strictly because of just having that number 1 corner. I'm also a big Taylor Rapp fan. And then Darius Williams, as you mentioned, he really stepped up last season, really showed his worth. So I'm ready to be that CB2 for Jalen Ramsey there. And then Jordan Fuller is a serviceable safety. So Rams number 2. 49ers, it's not that, like I'm down on them having them number 3. I think their defense is going to be great. They always attack the ball really well, especially in pass coverage. So just looking at their guys, Tart is a safety that I absolutely love. I remember when we played them last year, he made a couple plays on Carson Wentz. Jimmy Ward, another great safety. So 49ers at number 3, and then the Seahawks once again, number 4. They got Jamal Adams back there, Quandre Diggs. Jamal Adams is not great in pass.
They didn't solve anything. Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? Like,
I remember that was like the addition. That was huge news. And Jamal Adams, as a heavy hitter, Jamal Adams coming up in run protection and getting after the quarterback is a freak of a safety. You said it. He solves nothing in pass protection and pass coverage, and that's where they were struggling to begin with. So it's a weird fit. Like, I love the player, hate the fit in Seattle with what's surrounding him. If he had corners on the outside, I'd love it. They don't.
That's the thing. With Jamal Adams, a safety like that, he can be an elite safety, and he is an elite safety, but elite
not in that situation. He's not
in certain situations, and he can be an elite safety in all situations if you put the right guys around him. But it's almost like they're trying to do the opposite and like supplant the safety position and kind of hide these corners. And I just don't know if that works when you got a safety like that that's not great in coverage. So Seahawks round up the bottom there for me in pass coverage. Pass rush next. That's the interesting topic.
Yes, sir.
Looking at this team, obviously I'm inclined to, or looking at this division, I should say, I'm inclined to just gravitate towards the Rams here, Aaron Donald. But I did go with the 49ers, man. I'm looking at that stacked defensive line. It's about more than one player, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at a guy like Nick Bosa, who, I'm not going to put him on the level of Aaron Donald, but he's in that elite tier of pass rushers. I mean, he's ridiculous. You look at D Ford, Eric Armstead is an elite inside rusher. Javon Kinlaw, young guy that has great upside. And then you talk about their linebacking core. I mean, Fred Warner just got, he's the highest paid linebacker in the league for a reason, right? He's the next guy up. He's that next Luke Kuechly level. Barely for it. Yeah, we'll get into the actual rankings, but we're just going through positional battle. Yeah. As far as just the defensive line there, that linebacking core, gotta go with the 49ers initially. Although my heart gravitates towards the Rams because I love Aaron Donald. Number 2, obviously, the Rams with Aaron Donald. Now, they got a lot to prove around Aaron Donald, but I think when you have Aaron Donald in the mix there, it's going to make everybody better. You see guys, as Sean Robinson, Sebastian Joseph Day, Justin Hollins. We'll see, but they should feed off Aaron Donald in the middle there. He's such a disruptive force.
Makes your life a lot easier when he's in the middle.
He's going to get triple teamed a lot of the time, triple blocked. So he's going to open it up for that entire defense. Number 3, I do have the Cardinals. Unfortunately, the Seahawks are going to round out my bottom 4 once again. And the crazy thing is I'm not like super low on the Seahawks. I just think they never supplant talent around Russell Wilson.
No.
Ever since they had that stout defense, it's just gone steadily.
Offensive line play, and ever since the Legion of Boom, their defense has suffered and their offensive line has suffered, and it's caused Russell Wilson. And that I think that relationship, there's more there than Remember the rumors that he had a list of teams he'd like to go to,
yeah.
and then it was no. I'm staying in Seattle. No. There's smoke. There's definitely fire in Seattle.
And so 3rd, I do have the Cardinals, as I said. Adding J.J. Watt to that pass rush is huge. Now, obviously, they don't have a ton of experience on that defensive line. I do like guys like Jordan Phillips. Once again, that linebacking core is going to be able to help that defensive line as well. You talk about Isaiah Simmons, Zaven Collins, Jordan Hicks. These are all guys that like to get involved, get in that backfield. So I got the Cardinals at number 3, and then number 4, the Seahawks again. Just looking at their roster, Carlos Dunlap.
All right, a couple years ago, that would have meant more.
A couple years ago, he's elite. He's probably not even a worthy mention at this point. You got Bobby Wagner back there in the middle of the the linebacking core.
Poor Bobby.
He's slowed down a little bit himself. He's still top tier talent, but he's definitely slowed down. He's not that guy that's making a defense great all by himself anymore. So not sold on the Seahawks defense at all there, man.
I agree with you. These are the pass rush. I have 1 through 4, the exact same as you. I'll start at the bottom, 3, 4. It is 3, 4 is close, 1, 2 is close as you laid it out. I got Seahawks 4 simply because Carlos Dunlap is the one name that sticks out to you, and it just doesn't mean anything anymore. Like you said, outside of Bobby Wagner, Ben Burr-Kirven is their other linebacker, or Jordan Brooks. They are going to struggle defensively this year. I truly believe that. So I have the Seattle Seahawks number 4. I had the Cardinals number 3. They could be 4, but the addition of J.J. Watt, obviously his days are getting up there, but he just adds a much-needed veteran presence coming off the edge of that line with those linebackers. I think they can cause a little bit of issues in the backfield for teams, but they're 3-4 in the basement of the West. 1, 2 is very interesting, but you said it. It's not about one guy. Not that the Rams just have Aaron Donald. They don't have anyone else, but the San Fran 49ers are much more rounded out. You mentioned it earlier. D Ford, Arik Armstead, Nick Bosa coming off the edge. And then you want to talk about linebackers. Fred Warner is a freak, dude, and he just got paid. San Fran's number 1, Rams number 2, and Aaron Donald. Cardinals number 3, Seahawks number 4. Common trend in the West defensively.
I just wanted to throw some respect for the Seahawks really quick. I did pass over Kerry Hyder. Just took a look at his numbers last season. He did have eight and a half sacks last season, so he is the notable guy on that defensive line. Just wanted to point that out. Still number 4 for me, though.
Good find there, Scott. Good find there. Because I did not know that stat. But flipping to the offensive side of the ball to wrap up this week's episode of Turf Talk. Let's get into the passing attack. I'm going to start this one because rushing attack, I'm going to need your help again, my friend. Very 1 through 4. What the hell do I want to do? So, but we'll start in the air attack. Number 1, I'm going to put the Seahawks and Russ. Okay. I know we've been down on him. And again, this is all going to be very close. I love Kyler. The weapons in Arizona is disgusting. You add Stafford to the Rams with those weapons. But Russ, to me, is still the best quarterback in this division. He's coming off an MVP-type number year, 4,200 yards, 40 touchdowns to, I think 12 or 13 picks, a 105 quarterback rating. And you talk weapons. I mean, they don't have the best in the division, but you still have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf on the outside. Just from a pure passing perspective. And listen, the offensive line, I trashed it earlier. So that does play a factor as to maybe – they shouldn't be number 1, but I'm sticking with Russell Wilson and DK and Tyler Lockett, number 1 in the NFC West. Number 2, I got to go with my guy, Matt Stafford in the Rams. I love this fit. I love this addition. I love him in McVay's system. He finally gets a number of weapons around him. You spoke on it earlier. The signing of Deshaun Jackson, who the hell knows? We, as Eagles fans, know he might not be available a lot throughout the regular season, but he's there right now. He's not asked to be a number 1 or 2 option. He's just going to ask to go on some fly routes a couple times because they have Cooper Kupp. They have Robert Woods. That McVay's offense, the quick hitters, the just getting the ball in their hands, and then you can take your shots and pick your spots with Matt Stafford back there as that gunslinger, something you didn't have with Jared Goff. I absolutely love that fit. Number 3, I got to go with my man Kyler. He's got stuff to prove still for me. I talk a lot about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has to prove it. Not here, not his lower body, not anything, but with his arm, right, Scott? Kyler's progressing in the right direction, but I still got to see it more from a quarterback point of view. D-Hop. Listen, we brought up J.J. Watt defensively earlier. A.J. Green's aging. His days are numbered now. But my God, if that works, dude, if this was 3 years ago, oh my God, this 1-2 punch. But maybe it'll work. Maybe he needed a change of scenery. Maybe A.J. Green can stay healthy this year. And then you add in Christian Kirk as well. Number 3, I got the Arizona Cardinals, not just because of Kyler, but the weapons. They had the best weapons, in my opinion, in the division. D-Hop is probably not the best wide receiver in the game. And number 4, I got the 49ers, and it's because it's an unknown. Are they going to just throw Trey Lance right into that starting job? He has not played a lot of football, guys.
Right.
He did not play a lot of games at North Dakota State. Let's understand that, okay? Or do you let him sit and watch and learn because you have a guy in Jimmy G who's coming off an injury last year who can game manage with this supporting cast around him, just had you in a Super Bowl with a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter 2 years ago. So let's not forget that. I'm not a big Jimmy Garoppolo fan by any stretch of the imagination. But he's not horrible. And you put him with this run game, you put him with Shanahan, the speed around him, and that defense, they can still compete, dude. So I just had them forward because I don't know the answer to who's starting. And just because of, who the other 3 quarterbacks are, they probably are the 4th best in the division.
Yeah, and just to kind of, coattail on the 49ers, for a second, obviously they struggled last season. Jimmy Garoppolo got injured. They were working with Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard, Beathard, whatever. But, you saw their defensive line get all beat up last season. This team the season before, they were in the Super Bowl, dude, with Jimmy G. They're a team that can supplant the quarterback.
Especially with Shanahan, dude.
Yeah, exactly. They can work through bad quarterback play. They're not one of those. They're good enough to do that. So definitely, despite the quarterback position, I am still high on the 49ers. As far as passing, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, man. I'm going with Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Once again, I love the fit, like you said there. You talk about Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson. You mentioned Deshaun Jackson. He's not asked to be wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 in LA like he was in Philly. We don't need him at 34 years old to come out and catch balls on slants and stuff. Just go out there, run your fly route. If you're open, you're open. We'll sling it. If not, we'll go to one of our guys underneath. But Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, 2 possession receivers, 2 guys that can get out, get downfield. They can get away from coverage. So Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell was another guy out of the draft. They just keep adding guys to this offense, and in the system, McVay is just ridiculous, similar to Shanahan there in San Francisco. Number 2, I do have Kyler Murray and that Cardinals offense. Absolutely love what they did this offseason. You talked about AJ Green. Christian Kirk is another wide receiver that is very good. Yep. Andy Isabella, another wide receiver, very good. Makes plays for them. Rondell Moore is another guy they added there, a rookie that not going to be asked for much. So if he can contribute anything, that's going to be great. But Kyler Murray, just getting out of the pocket, creating more time for these guys to get open. That pass offense is going to be disgusting. It's going to be annoying to play against. So Cardinals number 2, and then Seahawks I do have number 3. It isn't because of the weapons. I love DK Metcalf. I love Tyler Lockett. I love Russell Wilson. The offensive line is not favorable, and at some point, I guess I'm not saying that Russell Wilson is over.
But that catches up.
I'm not calling people over their hill before it's there. But yeah, like you said, eventually that does catch up to you. Getting beat up like that every season. If they didn't improve that offensive line, it's going to wear on Russell Wilson. It's going to make him. It's got to show in his numbers eventually, right? So I got the Seahawks number 3 there. 49ers, same reason as you, just uncertainty at the position. If you go Trey Lance, we've never seen him play before. If you go Jimmy G, he's just a middle of the pack quarterback. But the system, right? The system with Shanahan, it does make it serviceable. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Richie James there. So they got weapons on the outside. It's just
a matter.
Huh?
You're missing one.
Oh my God, George Kittle. Yeah, of course. But they got plenty of weapons in there. But the thing I like about San Fran, and I think this is a perfect segue. I'll kind of just start off the Russian attack here. They get all of those guys involved in the running game too. So that's what's dynamic about this offense with the 49ers. And I have them number 1 in my Russian attack for that reason. They get guys like Deebo Samuel involved in the running game. He gets downhill. He is basically built like a big ass running back. And you talk about Brandon Ayuk, who you can get out in space. You can call him screens or you can call him, tossbacks, whatever you want to call them. Get him in open space. He can take it to the house at any point. But then you still got guys like Raheem Mostert who can be the bell cow. You got Trey Sermon, a young guy. You bring him in. He was a bell cow in college. Wayne Gallman was another guy that was brought over from New York, I believe. Another guy that is serviceable if he needs to play. So they got plenty of options in the running game there. I even saw them get Kittle involved in the running game, which, once again, this guy's built like a fucking house. Excuse my language.
I love it.
They get everybody involved in the running game here. The second one, this is where it gets tough. After the 49ers, because naturally I would have had the Rams number 2. And I'll let you know now the Rams are my number 4 because Darrell Henderson, we'll see how that works out. I was a huge Cam Akers guy. He goes down. Now you're left with holes in your backfield because Darrell Henderson isn't some bell cow guy. Can he be? We don't know that for sure.
Not for 17 weeks, he can't be. Maybe for a postseason stint.
And maybe they'll pick up another guy. Who knows? There's plenty of backs out there. Maybe a Todd Gurley reunion, right? I doubt that. I really do.
All day Adrian Peterson.
It is interesting, though, to say the least. But I do have the Rams number 4. Number 2, I went with the Seahawks. Offensive line sketches me out a little bit. But they still got Rashad Penny, Chris Carson back there. And I do think it would be wise of them to try to pound the football, protect Russell Wilson a bit. And then the Cardinals, I got at number 3. Obviously, they got James Conner, Chase Edmonds in the backfield. I just don't know about them. You know what I mean? We'll see. I think Kyler Murray, his running ability makes it dynamic. But James Conner, we just watched him play like shit in Pittsburgh last season. And to think that he's going to come and add some dynamic aspect to this backfield, we'll see. We'll see.
TBD.
Chase Edmonds is the number 1 guy there. Not 100% sold on that guy either. So they're just naturally number 3 for me there in the rushing attack. So 49ers, Seahawks, Cardinals, Rams.
I agree with you. I'm sitting here, the Rams are number 4 for me because of that Cam Akers lost. Like you said, Darrell Henderson, I can't sit here and say comfortably that he can be an every day running back for 17 weeks and then some. They have to make a move for me to adjust those rankings. They have to bring someone in. And then even if they do bring in a veteran presence, I don't know that, I'm not saying Cam Akers was some top 5 running back in this league. He wasn't. But he would have been probably number 2 for me in this division. This division has a lot of good running backs. They don't have any stud running backs. Chris Carson is a good running back. Rashad Penny's a dynamic running back. James Conner can be a good running back. Chase Edmonds, young, fast. You know what I mean? So I am going Rams 4, going Cardinals 3 because Edmonds just isn't a bell cow running back. He's a specialist. If you use him correctly, he's fast. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. You use him sparingly. James Conner is going to try to come in and punch you in the mouth and add in a different dynamic. That's TBD to me because, like you said, Pittsburgh just didn't run the ball effectively whatsoever with anyone last year. So was it a James Conner problem? Was it a Pittsburgh Steelers problem? I don't know. Maybe he can find a role here. And George says it. Conner is fine as part of a rotation. Yeah, that's going to be the key here in Arizona. Number 2, I am going to Seattle Seahawks. I do like Penny and Chris Carson. I like the dynamic, with Russ. He is a mobile quarterback a little bit. So you can, they use a little bit of read option there. That opens up things with Penny and Carson as well. The offensive line, how you added that in with the Russell Wilson factor. You do have to add in a little bit here with the Seahawks, but from a talent perspective, they're probably number 2. Number 1 is a system perspective. I really like Raheem Mostert, but this system, Kyle Shanahan's system behind that offensive line, the way they use to play action with Jimmy G and these tight end screens and these wide receiver screens, it opens up the running game. Mostert's the head guy, but they have other who's their number 2 in San Fran? You said it already, but I'm forgetting.
Trey Sermon, so Wayne Gallman.
And they brought in Wayne Gallman. Yeah. Okay. But so I just think the system of San Fran, they can run the ball down your throat a little bit. I like San Fran 1, Seattle 2, Arizona 3, and the Rams 4. Scott.
San Fran still has Jeff Wilson as well. Just
okay.
In there.
To wrap up today's show, as we are nearing an hour and a half here on Turf Talk, our NFC West prediction, standings, and rankings. I will start off at number 4. Which way do I want to do this?
I think either way it's going to be interesting.
It is. I'm going to go 1. Number 1, I got the LA Rams. I almost said St. Louis Rams. I got the LA Rams. I absolutely love the addition of Matt Stafford. I love the fit. They haven't lost weapons. They still have Cooper Kupp. They still have Robert Woods. They bring in Deshaun Jackson, which is going to open up so much field for everything underneath. Jared Goff took them to a Super Bowl, couldn't get it done. Add in Matt Stafford, who I think still has years left, one of the best gunslingers in the game. Can he protect the football? Can he take his shots within McVay's system? And you got to love their defense, dude, with Aaron Donald in the middle, with Jalen Ramsey outside. They invested a lot of draft capital and money on the defensive side of the ball. They have a good offensive line. The play action, the create, the ski, like just how much they get the ball, like the reverses, the pre-snap motion. I absolutely love what they're going to do with Matt Stafford. And then you have this defense who's just going to be a top of the line defense in the NFL. Number 2. I got the San Fran 49ers.
Okay, nice.
I do because, like I said, just 2 short years ago, last year, COVID was just a weird year overall, obviously. No training camp. The injuries to Jimmy G and then the defensive side of the ball with Bosa and just everyone that got hurt. And then they battled COVID. Every week they had a number of guys out. Mostert was out for a while. They battled COVID. They battled injuries in a weird year. They took a backseat. This defense is back. It's healthy. Fred Warner is a freak. Nick Bosa off the edge. This defensive line. Add that in with, I love Kyle Shanahan. They got speed. George Kittle is a top 1 or 2, 1A, 1B tight end in this league with Travis Kelce, in my opinion. Dude's a freak. And depending on what you do with quarterback, here's what I'll say. Here's what I feel comfortable with. Trey Lance has the more upside. If you want to get fun, if you want this offense to be a little bit more dynamic, you play Trey Lance and you throw him into the Wolves. But then I change my ranking. I like them at number 2 with Jimmy Garoppolo. Again, I'm not a huge Jimmy Garoppolo fan by any stretch of the imagination. But I think in this system, it works with that defense, the way they run the ball. If he can manage the game, not turn the ball over and take his spots with Kyle Shanahan calling the plays, I really like San Fran to compete for this division again. I don't have them winning it, but I think they're going to compete with it, or for it, I should say. Number 3, the team that I kind of want to win the division, that I like the most because I think they're so exciting, is the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, all the weapons on the outside, all the new additions. If it works, they have a lot of the J.J. Watt, the Malcolm Butler, the A.J. Green, the James Conner. These are so many unknowns, Scott. That's why I have them 3. But if they pan out, if they work with Christian Kirk and with D-Hop, with Isaiah Simmons, with Buda Baker, this team could win the division.
Yeah.
Number 4, I got the Seattle Seahawks. They have the best quarterback in the division, in my opinion. I think Pete Carroll's overrated. I think this defense is going to suffer this year, and I think that the offensive line might catch up to Russ, like you said earlier. I know it sounds crazy, right? Like, Seattle and Russell Wilson's finishing 4th.
I know, man.
This literally anyone in this division. Yeah, I have them 4th. They could still win the division. I don't foresee that happening, but literally 1 through 3, any one of those teams can definitely win this division. But that's just how I have it playing out right now.
Yeah, and that just speaks to the strength of the division. If you're having Russell Wilson at the bottom, the Russell Wilson led Seahawks at the bottom of the division there, it just speaks how good the division is. And the only reason that you would have, the Seahawks any higher is strictly because of Russell Wilson. So I'll lead off here. Number 1, I'm with you. The Rams, easy. Matthew Stafford gives them everything that Jared Goff was limited on. He's not afraid to take shots. He's not afraid to go downfield. He's not afraid to open this offense completely up in McVay's system. And I just think, we talked about the fit earlier. It is perfect. The key with the Rams, Matthew Stafford has to stay healthy. That's something we didn't mention earlier when we were talking about their passing game, but they don't have any options after Matthew Stafford. And, like most teams, if your starting quarterback goes down, you're going to be screwed. And so the key thing with Matthew Stafford in Detroit was his health. He was never able to stay healthy. He had the last couple seasons, he's battled with injuries. So you just hope he can stay healthy out in LA, really show what he's made of, because when he plays, he's great. I believe it was the year before last, not last season, because last season I thought, maybe Matthew Stafford can take the next step. No. The season before that, he was injured again. But if you prorated his numbers, I think he only missed like four to 5 games that season. He would have had MVP numbers at the rate he was playing. That was a year that they beat the Eagles in Philadelphia, the Lions did, and he torched us. So he has all the talent in the world. You just got to watch him stay healthy. He has a bunch of surrounding talent in LA. Rams, number 1. I didn't even talk about their defense. That's well known with Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey leading the way there. Number 2, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid again. It's the Arizona Cardinals for me, man. On paper, these guys, I went,
dream team, baby.
It's a dream team, right? We're cursing them right now. But no, it's just when you look at such a dynamic quarterback, like you said, he does have to, improve as a passer, obviously. Just become a little bit more consistent. That's all we ask. Because he has all the arm talent in the world. He can do everything he needs to. It's just a matter of putting it on the field every time he steps on the field. So Cardinals, bunch of talent. You mentioned D-Hop there. They do have Chase Edmonds, who brings the speed, James Conner, who brings the other side of the running attack. They got weapons on the outside, A.J. Green. We mentioned them already, Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella, down the line. Defense, they did add some notable guys. They have a lot of depth on defense, which I like because, as we know, injuries always occur. But I am drinking a little bit of the Kool-Aid with the Cardinals. They are a young team. They're a young-led team. But I love them on paper. I shouldn't say this is where it gets tough. The entire bottom 3 is tough for me. Here, I originally had Seahawks, but as we kind of went through it, I'm just like, man, I'm really hoisting the Seahawks at 3 strictly because Russell Wilson, and I just can't see him, being at the bottom of the division.
Not when you got to play this division 6 times. Like, you got to play 6 games against these opponents, and that's just your division. Realistically, how much are you is just Russ going to win how many games for you?
I know. And so that's what makes it tough. And I even wrote tough with exclamation marks here. Because it was tough to decide here. Because even the 49ers, I couldn't move them up as high as number 2, like you said. just based on their scheme, what they got going on. I'm not a huge Jimmy G guy, but like we talked about earlier, they went to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G at quarterback. It's not like he's that deficient or that much of a detractor for their offense. So it's a toss-up at the bottom there. I do have Seahawks number 3 just because of Russell Wilson. I do believe that he somehow, you know what I mean? It's something. I don't know how he's going to do it. Somehow he won't be at the bottom of that division. But as always, with a caveat, this division is wild. The Rams, you know, they're not even saying that they're a lock to win the division is a stretch. That's putting a lot of faith in Matthew Stafford to stay healthy and to fit great in LA. So we're drinking the LA Kool-Aid with the Rams. I'm drinking the Arizona Kool-Aid with the Cardinals there. But
I
Rams
absolutely love this division.
49ers love the division.
Like,
probably my favorite outside of
when the Eagles aren't on. If any of these games, any of these teams are on TV, if not the red zone, and you're going to be seeing a lot of them on the red zone. I'll say this. Wait, did they have the 3rd wild card last year, or is this the first year they're doing it? The 7-team playoff.
They had it last year.
Last year, right? I forgot for a second, but here's my prediction. I'm saying it August 1st because we just broke down this division. 3 teams from the NFC West will be in the 2021 playoffs. Obviously, someone's winning the division, and the other 2 are taking 2 of the 3 wild card spots. They are.
And you talk about watching these teams on Sunday. Obviously, if the Eagles aren't playing, huge fantasy implications in this division as well. I mean, it's a star-studded division.
Yeah.
So at all key skill positions. So you're looking at, I mean, just look at the list of wide receivers in this division. I mean, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, D Hop, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. I mean, you go down the line, they just have ridiculous players at the skill positions, and then obviously the quarterback matchups. But it will be interesting to see how it plays out. I think, as far as like the teams in this division, I would say the 49ers are just like a complete wild card. I mean, we saw them at the top, 2 years ago. Last year, they struggled with injuries. This year, they come in with a little bit of a quarterback situation. Most likely Jimmy G gets that nod. But if they start to struggle, how quick do they turn to Trey Lance?
Right.
Maybe they don't struggle. Maybe they don't even have to go down that route. But definitely a wild card for me there, because if Jimmy G can play good, they can win the division, literally. They have everything around them to win.
This division's nuts, dude.
It is nuts.
It's nuts. We wanted to save it for last. We wanted to save it for the last week of our divisional breakdowns, but obviously being Eagles fans, and it's NFL but Eagle-centric show as well, we wanted to save the Eagles for last. So, but this West division is the most dynamic, toughest, fun division in the entire National Football League. So it's going to be a ton of fun to watch and, discuss as the season plays out, because, we will be talking about a lot of Eagles, but I'm sure every week throughout the season, there is going to be an NFC West topic to be discussing and a lot of games to be breaking down when they meet up in that division. But Scott, every week here on Turf Talk, we seem to be going longer and longer, an hour and 40 minutes just about on this week's edition. But guys, if you haven't already, follow DSM Media on Twitter at DSM_media. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like this video, turn on notifications, whatever you got to do to stay alert and up to date with DSM Media, because there's just a ton going on. 8 shows right now on the network, multiple shows a day throughout the week. We have 2 more shows coming to you soon. And of course, the biggest thing of all, you have to be subscribed to our YouTube and come hang out with us at the Eagles' second open practice tailgate that DSM Media is throwing right at the link, probably starting around 4 p.m., 4:30 p.m. as practice is at 7 p.m. that Sunday, August 22nd. Come hang out. We got some things in the work. Free beer, free food. We're giving away gear. We are raffling away a Devontae Smith Midnight Green Eagles jersey. We're looking for it in black, but we might have to settle for the midnight green. But if you come, you hang out with us, you show us that you have proof that you're subscribed to DSM Media on YouTube, get a raffle ticket, and you got a chance to win a Devontae Smith Eagles jersey. And we'll be raffling off a lot of stuff as well throughout the tailgate, doing a live show down there. So guys, August 22nd, come hang out with us. Shoot the shit with us. Hang out, drink some beers, whatever you want to do, we will do at the open tailgate.
Yeah, just to follow up what you said, DSM Media has got you covered every day of the week. We hit it at the beginning of the show, but attack every day.
Oh, God.
Attack every day. And that's what DSM Media does. They attack every day of the week. We're bringing you content. Make sure you're subscribed, guys. Turn those notifications on.
Yeah, I want to go attack this breakfast sandwich real quick.
Dylan, you got anything else, my man?
Yeah, tonight, before we close out here, tonight, big guest. This is Turf Talk. Tune in to Diamond Talk tonight, 9 p.m., I think, Scott.
Even it is 9 p.m.
Our guys, George and Jeremy, the host of Diamond Talk, right here on DSM Media. Special guest, Jack Fritz from 94 WIP, producer of Marks and Reese afternoon show on 94 WIP. Tap in as they are talking everything Phillies, the trade deadline. Their struggles now in Pittsburgh, I'm sure, will be discussed. And the Phillies have an afternoon game today at 1:05. So I'm sure, win or loss, the guys will be breaking that down. So Jack Fritz of 94 WIP will be joining our guys, George and Jeremy, on Diamond Talk, 9 p.m. exclusively on DSM Media on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Thank you, guys. Have a nice night. Have a nice afternoon. And go Birds.
Go Birds. Tap in, DSM Media. Peace, guys.